The night sky has always held secrets, but for Lyra, the stars whispered something more. As she gazed upward, tracing constellations with her fingertips, she noticed something strange, a pattern that didn't belong. Etched into the darkness was a map, faint but unmistakable, pointing towards something ancient and forgotten. The Celestial Lighthouse, a beacon of myth, said to guide lost souls through the cosmos, was no longer just a story. It was real, and it was calling to her. But as Lyra's journey began, she couldn't have known that her steps would awaken forces far older and darker than she could imagine. The Void Warden, a shadowy entity that thrives in the absence of light, has watched for eons, waiting for the moment to extinguish the lighthouse's glow forever. Tonight, Lyra's quest will change everything, but will she be the savior of the cosmos, or the spark that plunges it into eternal darkness? Join us as we unravel the mysteries of the Celestial Lighthouse and the fate of a stargazer who dared to follow the stars. As Lyra stood before the ancient map, its cryptic symbols shimmering faintly under the starlit sky, she felt a surge of both excitement and trepidation. The markings were unlike anything she had ever seen, a blend of celestial patterns and arcane runes that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. It didn't take long for her to realize that unlocking the map's secrets would require more than just intellect. It demanded a celestial key, a relic said to be hidden deep within the ruins of the Astral Spire. The spire itself was a place of legend, a towering structure said to have been built by an ancient civilization that once thrived among the stars, but time had not been kind to it. Now it stood as a crumbling monument to a forgotten age, its halls filled with spectral guardians and traps designed to deter intruders. With the map in hand and a resolve as unyielding as the spire itself, Lyra ventured into the ruins. The air was thick with the scent of decay and the faint hum of residual magic. Every step she took was deliberate, her eyes scanning the shadows for movement. The guardians of the spire were not of this world, ethereal beings that seemed to materialize out of thin air, their forms shifting between light and shadow. Each encounter was a test of her agility and wit, forcing her to think quickly and move even faster. But Lyra was no stranger to danger. She had faced worse in her years of exploration, and her determination only grew stronger with each obstacle she overcame. Then, as she neared the heart of the spire, she faced a choice that would test not just her skills, but her very principles. A trap was triggered, and a fellow explorer, someone she had crossed paths with earlier in her journey, was caught in its deadly mechanism. The room began to collapse around them, and Lyra had mere moments to decide: retrieve the celestial key or save the explorer. It was a choice that weighed heavily on her, but in the end, her mission prevailed. She chose the key, leaving the explorer to their fate, as she narrowly escaped the crumbling chamber with the artifact in hand. The weight of that decision lingered with her long after she had left the spire. The celestial key now glowed faintly in her possession, its light a constant reminder of the cost at which it had been obtained. As she gazed at it, Lyra couldn't help but wonder if the pursuit of knowledge and power was worth the sacrifices it demanded. Yet deep down, she knew there was no turning back. The map's secrets were within her grasp, and the path ahead, though fraught with peril, was one she had chosen to walk. The Astral Spire had tested her in ways she couldn't have imagined, but it had also revealed her true strength and the burdens that came with it. As the ancient key hums with celestial energy in her hand, Lyra takes a deep breath, her heart racing with both anticipation and trepidation. She twists the key in the air, and before her, the fabric of reality unravels, revealing a portal to the celestial sea. Stepping through, she's immediately enveloped by an otherworldly sight, a vast, shimmering expanse of starlit waters stretching endlessly in every direction. The surface glimmers like liquid silver, reflecting the constellations above, while faint whispers of cosmic winds brush against her skin. It's a place where the boundaries between sky and sea blur, a realm both breathtaking and unnerving in its beauty. But Lyra doesn't have long to marvel at the view. A figure emerges from the haze, his presence as commanding as the stars themselves. Orion, a rogue celestial navigator, strides toward her, his cloak billowing like the sails of a ghostly ship. His eyes, sharp and calculating, lock onto hers. "You shouldn't have come here," he says, his voice low but urgent. The Void Warden's influence is spreading faster than anyone anticipated. The sea isn't what it used to be. It's dangerous, even for someone like you. Lyra's grip tightens on the key. She knows Orion's reputation, a skilled sailor of the cosmos, but one who plays by his own rules. He's not known for his altruism. "I didn't come this far to turn back," she replies, her voice steady despite the unease creeping into her chest. Orion smirks, a glint of something unreadable in his gaze. "Then let me guide you," he offers, "but know this, I don't work for free. A share of the lighthouse's power is my price. You'll need me if you hope to survive what's coming." The demand hangs in the air, heavy and unyielding. Lyra hesitates, weighing the risks. The lighthouse's power is not hers to give lightly, but the Void Warden's shadow looms closer with every passing moment. Reluctantly, she nods. "Fine, but if you betray me, you'll regret it." Orion's smirk widens, though his eyes remain cold. "I'd expect nothing less," he says, extending a hand to seal their uneasy pact. Together, they board Orion's ship, a vessel crafted from stardust and ancient wood, its sails catching the cosmic winds. As they set sail across the celestial sea, the air grows heavier, the light dimmer. Behind them, shadowy tendrils emerge from the depths, writhing and grasping like the fingers of some unseen monstrosity. The Void Warden's presence is palpable, a creeping dread that chills Lyra to her core. Orion steers the ship with practiced ease, his expression grim. "Stay close," he warns. "The sea has a way of testing even the strongest wills." Lyra grips the railing, her resolve hardening. The journey ahead is fraught with danger, but she knows the stakes are too high to falter now. With Orion at her side, however reluctantly, she presses on, determined to reach the Celestial Lighthouse before the Void Warden's darkness consumes everything. The sea stretches endlessly before them, a shimmering expanse of both beauty and peril, and somewhere within its depths lies the key to saving their world, or losing it forever. As Lyra and Orion sailed through the vast expanse of the cosmos, their journey took an unexpected turn. A colossal storm erupted around them, its dark tendrils swirling like the breath of some ancient, malevolent force. This was no ordinary tempest. It was a creation of the Void Warden, a being who thrived in chaos and sought to disrupt the harmony of the universe. The ship groaned under the strain, its sails snapping violently in the gale as lightning arced across the sky, illuminating the turmoil with flashes of eerie light. Lyra, her hands gripping the ship's railing, turned to Orion with urgency in her voice. "We have to trust the stars. They'll guide us through this." Her confidence in the celestial patterns was unwavering, her connection to the heavens a source of strength she had always relied on. But Orion, ever the pragmatist, shook his head. "The stars won't save us now," he argued, his fingers already adjusting the dials on his mechanical astrolabe. "We need precision, not intuition. Let the calculations guide us." The tension between them grew as the storm intensified. Lyra's faith in the cosmos clashed with Orion's trust in his tools, their voices rising above the roar of the wind. "You're too rigid," Lyra shouted, her frustration boiling over. "The universe doesn't follow your numbers," Orion shot back, his tone equally heated. "And blind faith won't keep this ship from breaking apart." As the storm's fury reached its peak, the ship began to crumble under the pressure. The mast splintered, and debris flew in every direction. In that moment of chaos, Lyra made a decision. Ignoring Orion's protests, she pulled the celestial key from her pocket, its surface glowing faintly as if resonating with the storm's energy. She raised it high, her voice steady despite the chaos. "We don't need calculations or tools. We need to trust the cosmos." The key flared to life, its light piercing through the storm's darkness. The tempest began to falter, the winds slowing as if acknowledging Lyra's command. The ship steadied, and the storm dissolved into a calm, star-filled sky. Orion stood in stunned silence, his astrolabe hanging limply from his hand. I didn't realize," he murmured, his voice tinged with awe. Lyra turned to him, her expression softening. "The stars aren't just points of light, Orion. They are alive, guiding those who listen." Her connection to the cosmos had proven stronger than either of them had realized, and in that moment, the rift between their methods began to bridge. The storm had tested them, but it had also revealed a truth neither could deny sometimes. The universe speaks in ways beyond logic, and those who listen can find a power greater than any tool or calculation. As Lyra and Orion approach the Isle of Echoes, the air grows thick with a strange, resonant energy, a hum that seems to vibrate through their very souls. The island itself is shrouded in mist, its jagged cliffs rising like silent sentinels against the cosmic backdrop. At its peak stands the Celestial Lighthouse, its beam cutting through the haze, but before they can reach it, they are met by the first guardian, a sentient constellation, its form shimmering with starlight. The guardian's voice echoes like a chorus of distant galaxies, deep and ancient, as it addresses Lyra directly. "To prove your worth, you must face the echoes of your past. Only then will the path forward reveal itself." Lyra hesitates, her breath catching as the constellation's words sink in. The guardian's challenge is clear: confront her darkest memory, the moment she left the explorer behind in the Astral Spire. The memory floods back unbidden, the crumbling spire, the desperate cries for help, and her own panicked decision to flee. Guilt, sharp and unrelenting, grips her heart. Orion watches silently, his expression unreadable, as Lyra steps forward to face the trial. The guardian's starlight envelops her, pulling her into the memory as though she's living it all over again. For a moment, Lyra is paralyzed by the weight of her regret. She sees the explorer's face, hears their voice, feels the cold rush of abandonment. But this time, she doesn't run. Instead, she stands firm, tears streaming down her face as she whispers, "I'm sorry. I was wrong." The moment she speaks those words, the memory shifts. The spire no longer crumbles. The cries fade into silence. The guardian's voice returns, softer now, almost approving. You have faced your shadow. In acknowledging your failure, you have taken the first step toward redemption. Lyra emerges from the trial, her shoulders lighter but her eyes heavy with emotion. Orion, however, doesn't share her relief. His brow furrows as he steps closer, his voice low and tinged with doubt. You let your emotions cloud your judgment back there. How can I trust you to lead us if you're this vulnerable? Lyra meets his gaze, her voice steady despite the ache in her chest. Vulnerability isn't weakness, Orion. It's honesty. I've made mistakes, but I won't hide from them anymore. If that makes you doubt me, so be it. But I won't stop fighting for this mission. The tension between them lingers, unspoken but palpable, as they turn toward the lighthouse. The Guardian's starlight dims, its task complete, but the echoes of Lyra's trial ripple through the air, a reminder that the journey ahead will demand more than just courage. It will require trust, both in herself and in those who stand beside her. As the dimming light of the Celestial Lighthouse casts long shadows across the chamber, the Guardian's voice echoes with a solemn urgency. The beacon is fading, it says, its tone heavy with warning. Only a pure-hearted soul can reignite its flame and restore balance to the cosmos. Without it, the Void Warden's darkness will consume all. Lyra steps forward without hesitation, her eyes burning with determination. "I'll do it," she declares, her voice steady despite the weight of the task. But Orion steps between her and the Guardian, his expression dark with doubt. "You, after everything you've done, your guilt makes you unfit for this. You'll only fail us again." The tension between them crackles like a storm about to break. Lyra's jaw tightens, and she glares at Orion, her hands balling into fists. "You think I don't know what's at stake? I'm trying to make things right." Orion scoffs, his voice rising. "Your mistakes nearly got us killed once already. I won't let you risk everything again." The argument spirals, their words sharp and cutting, until Orion shoves her aside in frustration. Lyra stumbles, catching herself against the wall, her anger flaring. In a flash, she lunges at him, and the two collide in a tangle of limbs and fury. As they struggle, Orion's hand brushes against the celestial key, hanging from his belt. It slips free, clattering to the ground with a sound like shattering glass. Both freeze, their eyes widening as they see the key's surface, now marred by a deep crack. The Guardian's form shimmers with alarm, its voice booming like thunder. "Enough, your recklessness has damaged the key, and the Void Warden's forces draw near. If you do not set aside your differences, all will be lost." The weight of their actions settles over them like a heavy cloak. Lyra looks at Orion, her anger fading into regret. "We can't keep fighting each other," she says quietly, her voice tinged with exhaustion. Orion hesitates, then nods, his shoulders slumping. "You're right, we don't have a choice." The Guardian's light pulses softly, a silent reminder of the danger closing in. Together, they turn toward the heart of the lighthouse, knowing that the path ahead will test not just their courage, but their ability to trust one another. The air grows colder as they move deeper into the lighthouse, the faint hum of the fading light growing weaker with every step. The Void Warden's presence looms like a shadow at the edge of their awareness, and the crack in the celestial key serves as a stark reminder of their fragile alliance. But as they press on, a flicker of hope remains, a chance to reignite the light and push back the encroaching darkness. If only they can rise above their past and work together. As the celestial travelers stepped closer to the mirror of eternity, the air around them seemed to grow heavier, charged with an almost tangible weight of anticipation. The mirror itself was a sight to behold, a vast, shimmering plane that stretched endlessly in every direction, its surface rippling like liquid silver. Yet as they approached, the reflections began to shift, morphing into something far more personal and unsettling. For Lyra, the mirror revealed a harrowing vision, herself, her very essence, being swallowed by an all-consuming void, a darkness so profound it seemed to erase her very existence. Orion, on the other hand, saw something equally devastating. The Celestial Lighthouse, their guiding light, extinguished forever, its once brilliant beam snuffed out into nothingness. The mirror's voice, deep and resonant, echoed through the space, demanding a sacrifice. To proceed, one of them would have to part with their most cherished possession. Lyra, without hesitation, reached for the stargazing pendant that hung around her neck, a delicate, intricately crafted treasure, the last gift from her late mother. She had carried it with her through every journey, every trial, as a reminder of where she came from and the love that had shaped her. With a quiet resolve, she placed it before the mirror, her fingers lingering for just a moment before letting go. Orion, however, hesitated. His hand instinctively went to the astrolabe at his side, an ancient instrument that had been his constant companion, guiding him through the stars and mapping the heavens. It was more than a tool. It was a part of him, a symbol of his purpose and identity. The thought of relinquishing it felt like tearing away a piece of his soul. His hesitation was palpable, a silent struggle between duty and attachment. The mirror, seemingly satisfied with Lyra's sacrifice, granted them passage, its surface rippling once more to reveal the path forward. But the moment left a mark, not just on the journey, but on their relationship. Lyra's selflessness stood in stark contrast to Orion's reluctance, and though neither spoke of it, the rift between them deepened. Each step forward carried the weight of unspoken words, a tension that neither could ignore. This moment at the mirror of eternity was more than a trial. It was a revelation. It forced them to confront not just their fears, but the very core of who they were. For Lyra, the act of giving up her pendant was a testament to her strength and her willingness to let go of the past for the sake of the future. For Orion, his hesitation revealed a vulnerability, a fear of losing the tools that defined him. Together, they were learning that the path to the Celestial Lighthouse was not just a physical journey, but a test of their spirits, their bonds, and their willingness to sacrifice for something greater than themselves. As Lyra and Orion reached the edge of the mirror, the air grew heavy with an unnatural stillness. The once vibrant cosmos seemed to hold its breath, as if sensing the storm about to break. Without warning, The Void Warden's forces emerged from the shadows, their forms twisting and shifting like smoke given shape. The ambush was swift and merciless, a whirlwind of darkness descending upon the pair. Lyra and Orion fought side by side, their movements sharp and their resolve unyielding, yet something vital was missing: trust. Their inability to fully rely on one another left gaps in their defense, and the Void Wraiths exploited every hesitation. In the chaos, a wraith with eyes like smoldering embers lunged at Lyra. She parried its first strike, but the creature was relentless, its shadowy tendrils coiling around her like chains. Orion hesitated, torn between the mission and the person beside him. The lighthouse loomed in the distance, its light calling to him like a beacon of hope, but Lyra's cry snapped him back to the moment. Without a second thought, he turned and plunged into the fray, his blade cutting through the darkness to free her. The wraith recoiled, but not before its touch grazed Lyra's arm, leaving behind a searing mark that pulsed with an eerie, cold light. The mark of the void spread like ink through water, sapping Lyra's strength and dimming her connection to the stars. She stumbled, her hand clutching the wound, as if to hold back the encroaching darkness. Orion steadied her, his expression a mix of determination and regret. "We'll find a way to fix this," he said, though uncertainty lingered in his voice. The cost of his choice was clear. Lyra's light, her very essence, was fading. Yet in that moment of sacrifice, something shifted between them. The walls of mistrust began to crumble, replaced by a fragile but growing bond. They were no longer just allies. They were partners, bound by a shared burden and a glimmer of hope that even the void could not extinguish. As Lyra and Orion draw closer to the Celestial Lighthouse, the air grows heavy with an eerie stillness, as if the cosmos itself is holding its breath. The once faint mark on Lyra's arm now pulses ominously, its dark tendrils creeping further, a stark reminder of the void's relentless grip. Each step forward feels heavier, not just from the weight of their mission, but from the looming choice they must make. Orion, ever the pragmatist, breaks the silence with a grim suggestion. "We could use the celestial key," he says, his voice steady but tinged with unease. "It might purge the void's influence from you, Lyra, but there's a cost. The key would be destroyed, and without it, we can't reignite the lighthouse." Lyra pauses, her gaze fixed on the towering structure ahead. The lighthouse stands as a beacon of hope, its light dimmed but not yet extinguished. She knows what's at stake, not just for herself, but for every star, every soul that depends on the lighthouse's light. "If it comes to it," she says firmly, her voice unwavering, "then I'll make the sacrifice. The cosmos needs the lighthouse. It doesn't need me." Orion's usual cynicism falters for a moment. He's spent eons questioning the worth of heroes and the futility of their struggles. But here, in the face of Lyra's quiet resolve, he finds himself at a loss. Her willingness to give everything for a cause greater than herself challenges everything he thought he knew about courage and selflessness. Reluctantly, he nods, though his jaw tightens with the weight of his agreement. "We'll do it your way," he concedes, his tone softer now, almost reverent. As they press forward, the tension between them shifts. Orion's admiration for Lyra grows, not just for her bravery, but for the quiet strength that seems to radiate from her, even as the mark threatens to consume her. It's a strength he hasn't seen in centuries, not since the days when he still believed in the power of hope. And though he doesn't say it aloud, something inside him begins to change. A crack in the armor of his cynicism, letting in a sliver of light. The path ahead is fraught with uncertainty, but for the first time, Orion finds himself not just following, but truly believing in the mission. The lighthouse looms ever closer, its fate, and theirs, hanging in the balance. And as the void's whispers grow louder, Lyra's resolve remains unshaken, a testament to the enduring power of hope in the face of darkness. As Lyra and Orion step into the Celestial Lighthouse, the air itself seems to hum with an ancient, resonant energy. Towering walls of translucent crystal rise around them, refracting beams of light into a kaleidoscope of colors that dance across the chamber. At the heart of this ethereal space rests the heart of eternity, a pulsing, radiant core that seems to beat in rhythm with the cosmos itself. This is no ordinary artifact. It's the lifeblood of the lighthouse, the force that has guided countless travelers through the vast, dream-filled expanse of the celestial seas. But it's also the final barrier between them and the Void Warden's relentless advance. The heart is protected by one last challenge, the trial of unity. It's a test not of individual skill, but of harmony, a demand that Lyra and Orion combine their unique gifts in ways they've never attempted before. Lyra, with her deep connection to the stars, can sense the subtle patterns woven into the light around them. Orion, with his mechanical genius, sees the intricate machinery hidden within the crystal walls, gears and circuits humming in perfect synchronicity. Together, they must decipher a series of celestial puzzles, each more complex than the last. A constellation shifts, and Lyra traces its movement, whispering guidance to Orion as he recalibrates the lighthouse's mechanisms. A beam of light refracts at an impossible angle, and Orion adjusts a crystalline lens, while Lyra channels starlight to illuminate the path forward. It's a delicate dance, a fusion of intuition and precision, of cosmic understanding and mechanical mastery. With every puzzle solved, the heart of eternity pulses brighter, sending waves of warmth and light cascading through the chamber. The lighthouse itself seems to awaken, its once dim glow reigniting with a flicker of hope. But just as the light begins to stabilize, a chilling presence descends. The Void Warden has arrived, its shadowy form seeping into the chamber like ink, spreading across water. Its eyes burn with a cold, unyielding resolve, determined to extinguish the lighthouse's light once and for all. The stakes couldn't be higher. The heart of eternity is their last hope, not just for their journey, but for the countless souls who rely on the lighthouse's guidance. Lyra and Orion stand at the edge of a precipice, their unity their greatest weapon, and their only chance to withstand the darkness closing in around them. The air grew heavy, thick with the weight of despair, as the Void Warden began to shift and twist, its form unraveling into something far more terrifying than Lyra and Orion could have imagined. What had once been a shapeless shadow now loomed before them, towering and grotesque, a swirling mass of darkness that seemed to devour the very light around it. Its voice, low and dripping with malice, echoed in their minds, each word a dagger aimed at their deepest fears. For Lyra, the Void Warden's words struck with cruel precision. It dredged up memories of her past failures, moments where she had doubted herself, where she had let others down. You carry the weight of broken promises, it hissed, its voice a chilling whisper. How can you guide others when you cannot even trust yourself? The words burrowed into her, threatening to unravel the fragile strength she had fought so hard to build. But Lyra clenched her fists, her resolve flickering like a stubborn ember. She wouldn't let it win, not this time. Orion, however, stood frozen, his gaze locked on the creature's shifting form. The Void Warden's voice turned silken, offering him a path that gleamed with the allure of power. You were meant for greatness, it murmured, its tone almost soothing. Why settle for shadows when you could command the stars themselves? Imagine what you could achieve without the chains of doubt, without the weight of her expectations. Orion's breath hitched, his mind racing. The promise was intoxicating, a chance to rise above the struggles that had always held him back. But then he glanced at Lyra, her face etched with determination, despite the darkness closing in. She had believed in him when no one else had. Could he really turn his back on her now? The lighthouse's light, once a beacon of hope, began to falter, its glow dimming as the Void Warden's influence seeped into the very fabric of the cosmos. Shadows crept closer, swallowing the edges of the room, and the air grew colder with each passing moment. Lyra stepped forward, her voice steady despite the tremble in her hands. "We are stronger than this," she said, her words cutting through the oppressive silence. "Together we can fight it." But Orion hesitated, his eyes flickering between Lyra and the swirling darkness. The battle within him raged, loyalty against ambition, light against shadow. The Void Warden grinned, sensing his indecision, its form pulsating with growing power. The stakes had never been higher, and the choices they made next would shape not just their fates, but the fate of the cosmos itself. As the stars shimmered faintly above, Lyra stepped forward, her voice trembling yet resolute. "Orion, look at what we've done, who we've become. Every step of this journey, we've carried the hopes of those we've met. The shepherd who shared his fire, the weaver who mended our cloaks, the children who believed in the lighthouse's light. Their stories are part of us now. Can you truly turn away from that?" Her words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of all they'd seen and felt. Orion hesitated, his gaze fixed on the astrolabe in his hands. The golden device, once a tool for navigation, now felt like a burden he wasn't sure he could bear. But Lyra wasn't finished. "My mother," she began, her voice softening. "She sought this lighthouse long before I was born. She believed it could bring hope to a world shrouded in darkness. But she failed, Orion, and now it's my turn to finish what she started. I can't do this alone." For a moment, silence stretched between them, broken only by the distant hum of the Void Warden's oppressive presence. Orion's shoulders slumped as he looked at Lyra, truly seeing her for the first time, not just as a determined guide, but as someone carrying the weight of a legacy far greater than herself. He thought of the lives they'd touched, the small acts of kindness that had lit their path, and the quiet courage of those who had believed in them. Slowly, he nodded, his grip tightening on the astrolabe. "You're right," he said, his voice steady. "This isn't just about us. It's about all of them, everyone who's counting on us to bring the light back." With a deep breath, he raised the astrolabe, its intricate engravings catching the faint glow of the lighthouse. "If this can help, then let's use it, together." The moment the astrolabe aligned with the lighthouse's beam, a surge of energy erupted, brighter and more powerful than anything they'd ever seen. The light pierced through the shadows, weakening the Void Warden's grip on the cosmos. For the first time, the darkness seemed to falter, its oppressive presence shrinking back under the brilliance of their combined resolve. Lyra's eyes met Orion's, and in that moment, they both knew this was the turning point. The lighthouse's light wasn't just a beacon. It was a promise, a testament to the courage of those who dared to hope. And as the Void Warden recoiled, they stood side by side, ready to face whatever came next. As the tension reaches its peak, Lyra and Orion stand united, their minds racing to outwit the relentless Void Warden. With the heart of eternity glowing faintly behind them, they quickly devise a daring plan, a gamble that could either save the cosmos or doom it forever. Lyra closes her eyes, her fingertips brushing against the air as if plucking invisible strings. She calls upon her bond with the stars, drawing their ancient light into her being. The mark on her arm pulses brighter, its glow spreading like wildfire, but she steels herself, refusing to let the pain distract her. Beside her, Orion adjusts his astrolabe with precision, its intricate gears whirring as he aligns it to the celestial currents. His hands tremble slightly, but his focus never wavers. Together, they begin weaving a barrier of starlight, a shimmering web of energy designed to trap the Void Warden within the heart of eternity. But the Void Warden is no ordinary foe. Sensing their efforts, it unleashes a furious storm of darkness, tendrils of shadow lashing out like serpents. The air grows heavy, thick with the oppressive weight of its power. Lyra grits her teeth as the mark on her arm creeps further, each inch a reminder of the price she must pay. Yet, in the face of overwhelming odds, she finds strength in the unspoken trust she shares with Orion. His steady presence, his quiet determination, becomes her anchor. Together, they push back against the storm, their combined resolve a beacon of hope in the chaos. The heart of eternity pulses in rhythm with their efforts, its light growing stronger as their celestial barrier takes shape. For a moment, it seems as though they might succeed, until the Void Warden strikes with renewed fury, its roar echoing through the void. The barrier shudders, threatening to collapse under the weight of its assault. Lyra feels her strength waning, her connection to the stars flickering like a dying flame. But then, she locks eyes with Orion, and in that shared glance, they find the courage to press on. This is their moment, their chance to tip the scales in favor of the light. And though the storm rages on, they refuse to yield, their bond stronger than the darkness that seeks to consume them. The air grew heavy as the Void Warden's shadow loomed closer, its form writhing with an otherworldly energy that seemed to devour the very light around it. Lyra stood at the edge of the barrier, her hands trembling as she clutched the celestial key. Its glow pulsed faintly, a fragile reminder of the power it held and the cost of using it. Orion's voice cut through the tension, sharp with desperation. There has to be another way. You can't just give this up. It's part of who you are. But Lyra's resolve was unshakable. She turned to him, her eyes steady despite the storm raging within her. The light of the lighthouse must endure, she said, her voice soft but firm. Even if it means I can no longer be its keeper. With a deep breath, Lyra raised the celestial key high above her head. Its light flared, brilliant and blinding, as if sensing the weight of her decision. The Void Warden let out a guttural roar, surging forward, but it was too late. Lyra plunged the key into the heart of eternity, the ancient core of the lighthouse. A shockwave erupted, radiating outward in a cascade of light and sound. The key began to crack, its energy merging with the heart as the Void Warden howled in fury, its form unraveling as it was dragged into the depths of the core. Orion reached out, his hand brushing against Lyra's as the key shattered into countless shards, its light scattering like stars across the void. The connection between Lyra and the cosmos, a bond forged over lifetimes, was severed in an instant. She stumbled back, her breath catching as the weight of her sacrifice settled over her. But as she looked up, she saw it, the lighthouse's light, now blazing brighter than ever before, piercing through the darkness like a beacon of hope. The Void Warden was gone, imprisoned within the heart of eternity, its threat extinguished. Orion's voice broke the silence, filled with a mix of awe and sorrow. You did it, the light. It's stronger than I've ever seen it. Lyra managed a small smile, though her heart ached with the loss of what she had given up. The lighthouse's light was never mine to keep, she said softly. It belongs to the cosmos, to all those who needed to guide them home. As the light bathed the two of them in its warmth, Orion couldn't help but feel a newfound respect for Lyra's courage. She had given up everything to protect what mattered most, and in doing so, she had ensured that the light would endure for generations to come. The moment hung in the air, a quiet testament to the power of sacrifice and the resilience of hope. But even as the lighthouse's light shone brighter than ever, Lyra couldn't shake the emptiness left in the wake of her decision. The stars no longer whispered to her, and the cosmos felt distant, like a song she could no longer hear. Yet, as she gazed at the lighthouse's radiant beam, she knew she had made the right choice. The light would continue to shine, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there was always a way forward. And for now, that was enough. As the dust of battle settles, Lyra's strength gives way, her body crumpling to the ground. The once bright mark on her hand, a symbol of her celestial bond, begins to fade, flickering like a dying ember. The connection she shared with the stars, the very essence of her power, is severed, leaving her fragile and vulnerable. Orion, ever steadfast, rushes to her side, his heart heavy with the weight of what she has endured. Without hesitation, he lifts her into his arms, cradling her as he ascends the winding stairs of the Celestial Lighthouse, each step a silent prayer for her survival. At the lighthouse's peak, the heart of eternity pulses with a soft, golden glow, its light reaching out like a gentle hand to envelop Lyra. The ancient artifact, a beacon of life and renewal, begins its work, weaving threads of cosmic energy through her broken form. Slowly, her breathing steadies and the faintest hint of color returns to her cheeks, but the cost of her victory is clear. Her bond with the stars, the very source of her strength, is gone. She is no longer the Warden of Light, but the sacrifice she made has not been in vain. As the heart of eternity continues its healing work, the lighthouse's light intensifies, bursting forth in a radiant cascade that spreads across the cosmos. The once darkened skies are illuminated, and the lost souls adrift in the void find themselves guided by this newfound beacon of hope. Balance is restored, not just to the stars, but to the very fabric of existence. The Celestial Lighthouse stands tall once more, its light a testament to Lyra's courage and the enduring power of selfless sacrifice. Orion, standing at the edge of the peak, gazes out at the now glowing universe, his resolve hardening. He knows what must be done. Turning to Lyra, still unconscious but no longer fading, he makes a silent vow. He will protect this lighthouse, this symbol of hope and renewal, in her stead. Though he may never wield the power of the stars as she once did, he will honor her sacrifice by ensuring that its light never dims again. The Void Warden may be defeated, but the fight to preserve the balance of the cosmos is far from over. And Orion will stand as its eternal guardian, a beacon of strength in Lyra's absence. The lighthouse's light continues to shine, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, hope can be rekindled. And though Lyra's journey has taken a turn she could never have anticipated, her legacy burns brighter than ever, a guiding star for all who follow in her footsteps. As Lyra stirred from her slumber, the first thing she noticed was the silence. The stars, once her constant companions, no longer whispered their secrets in her ear. Their absence was palpable, like a melody abruptly cut short. Yet as she rose to her feet, she felt something new, a warmth radiating from within. It wasn't the cold, distant light of the stars, but something far more intimate. It was the pulse of life, the heartbeat of the people around her, now closer and more vivid than ever before. Orion stood nearby, his gaze steady and reassuring. "You've changed," he said, his voice carrying a mix of pride and wonder. "The lighthouse's light has done more than guide you. It has ignited something in others." Across the cosmos, others have seen its glow and felt its call. They've begun to build their own waypoints, their own beacons, each one a reflection of the hope you've kindled. Lyra's breath caught in her throat. She had thought her journey was about finding her place among the stars, but now she saw it was so much more. The cosmos wasn't just a vast expanse to be navigated. It was a tapestry woven from the lives and dreams of countless souls. And she, Lyra, had become a thread in that tapestry, a point of connection, a source of light for others to follow. The weight of this realization settled on her shoulders, not as a burden, but as a purpose. She was no longer just a wanderer seeking answers. She was a beacon, a guide, a symbol of what could be achieved when one dared to reach beyond the familiar and embrace the unknown. The stars might no longer speak to her, but their absence had made room for something far greater, a deeper understanding of the bonds that tie us all together. Orion's voice broke through her thoughts. "This is only the beginning," he said softly. "The lighthouse's light will continue to shine, but it's up to you to carry its message." "The cosmos is watching, Lyra, and they're looking to you for hope." Lyra nodded, a quiet resolve filling her heart. She had thought her journey had ended, but now she saw it was just the first step. The path ahead was uncharted, but for the first time, she felt ready to walk it, not alone, but as part of something far greater than herself. The cosmos was vast, but it was no longer a place of solitude. It was a network of light, and she was its newest guide. As Lyra and Orion stood beneath the shimmering expanse of the cosmos, the weight of their shared journey pressed gently upon them. The celestial key, now split into two fragments, glowed faintly in their hands, a reminder of the bond forged through trials and triumphs. Orion, his gaze steady and resolute, turned toward the celestial sea, where the tides of eternity whispered secrets only he could hear. "The waters call to me," he said, his voice carrying the weight of duty and reverence. "I will guard them as I always have, ensuring their light never fades." Lyra, her heart heavy yet hopeful, nodded in understanding. Her path led her in a different direction, toward the towering Astral Spire that pierced the heavens like a silent sentinel. It was there, among the ancient ruins, that she sought to honor the memory of the explorer who had once walked beside her. With each step, she carried not only her fragment of the celestial key, but also the legacy of those who had come before, those who had dared to dream and explore the vast unknown. At the heart of the spire, where time itself seemed to pause, Lyra knelt and pressed a star seed into the cracked earth. The tiny seed, no larger than a drop of starlight, pulsed with a gentle warmth as it took root. In that moment, the ruins seemed to breathe anew, as if the spire itself remembered the life it once cradled. The star seed, a symbol of renewal, began to grow, its tendrils reaching toward the sky like a silent promise. Light, both ancient and eternal, radiated from its core, a testament to the enduring power of hope and connection. As Lyra rose to her feet, she felt the weight of her journey shift, not a burden, but a beacon. The celestial key in her hand, the starseed at her feet, and the memory of Orion's steadfast presence, all wove together into a tapestry of resilience. Though their paths diverged, their bond remained unbroken, a thread of light stretching across the cosmos. And as the stars above began to shimmer with renewed brilliance, it was clear that their story was far from over. The celestial key, now divided but never diminished, would guide them both toward the destiny they were meant to fulfill. As Lyra stood beneath the vast expanse of the night sky, her heart swelled with a quiet, unshakable certainty. The stars above, once distant and cold, now shimmered with a warmth that seemed to reach out to her. The Celestial Lighthouse, its light piercing through the darkness, bathed the heavens in a glow that felt both ancient and new. It was as though the cosmos itself had awakened, alive with whispers of endless possibility. She tilted her head back, her breath catching in her throat, and for the first time, she truly understood the weight of what she had become. Her journey had been anything but easy. There had been moments of doubt, of fear, of stumbling in the shadows. She had faced her own imperfections, her pride, her hesitations, her moments of weakness. And yet, it was precisely those flaws that had shaped her into someone capable of guiding others. She wasn't perfect, and she no longer needed to be. The light she carried wasn't about perfection. It was about resilience. It was about finding the courage to keep moving forward, even when the path ahead seemed impossibly dark. Lyra's hand instinctively rose to her chest, where the faint pulse of the lighthouse's energy still lingered. It was a reminder that she was no longer alone in this vast, infinite expanse. The light wasn't just hers. It belonged to anyone who needed it. She thought of the people she had met along the way, the faces etched with their own struggles, their own dreams. They had taught her as much as she had guided them. Each story, each soul, had woven itself into the fabric of her own, creating a tapestry richer and more vibrant than she could have ever imagined. The night stretched on, timeless and infinite, and Lyra felt a profound sense of peace settle over her. The lighthouse's beam continued to cut through the darkness, a beacon of hope that would never waver. It was a promise not just to her, but to all who looked to the stars for answers. As long as the light shone, there would always be a way forward. There would always be a reason to believe. She smiled softly, her gaze lingering on the horizon where the sky met the sea of stars. The journey had changed her in ways she was still beginning to understand. But one thing was certain, she was ready to embrace her role, not as a flawless hero, but as a guide, a steady hand in the darkness for those who needed it most. And with that thought, Lyra turned her back to the cosmos, stepping forward into the unknown, her heart alight with the certainty that the best was yet to come. The Celestial Lighthouse, now a beacon of hope and resilience, stands tall as a symbol of Lyra's unwavering courage and the strength found in unity. Her journey, though marked by sacrifice, has left an indelible mark on the cosmos. The light she ignited not only pierces through the darkness, but also serves as a guiding force for those who wander through the dreamy expanse of the universe. Though Lyra's connection to the stars has faded, her legacy lives on, a testament to the power of selflessness and the enduring impact of one's choices. As the story draws to a close, there's a lingering sense that this is not the end, but rather a new beginning. Whispers of another ancient map, hidden deep within the cosmos, begin to surface, hinting at untold mysteries and adventures yet to come. The universe, vast and ever-changing, continues to hold secrets, waiting to be discovered by those brave enough to seek them. Could this be the start of another epic journey? Or perhaps a reminder that the cosmos, like life itself, is an endless tapestry of stories waiting to unfold. The Celestial Lighthouse reminds us that even in the face of loss, there is light. It teaches us that unity and courage can illuminate the darkest corners of existence, guiding not just individuals but entire generations through the unknown. And as the stars above continue to shimmer with their ancient wisdom, one thing is certain, the cosmos will always have more to reveal, more to inspire, and more to guide us toward the wonders that lie just beyond the horizon.